Without an effective kick, most butterflies are going to be in a whole lot of trouble, and it's going to be really difficult for them to continue to improve and to continue to get faster. And while performing traditional kick sets can be really useful for developing the kick, in a lot of cases, swimmers need a little bit extra help in order to take their kick to the next level. Hi everyone, Andrew here, helping you help your swimmers get faster. In this video, we're going to talk about how to develop the butterfly kick. We're going to talk about why it's so important, the skills they need to improve, what those skills look like in action, the challenges of improving the butterfly kick, the solutions to those challenges, the strategies that are really useful for developing a great one, and we'll go over some practical sets that you can use either right away or as inspiration to design your own sets. Let's check it out. So why does the butterfly kick matter? Well, it's all about the hips. The kick has a direct influence of the position of the hips and how they move through the water. So there's two things that the kick does. It moves the hips forwards and it moves the hips up. So to go fast, swimmers need to move their hips, their body, down the pool. And the kick is going to move their hips forward. It's going to create propulsion that pushes them down the pool. And any propulsion that moves them down the pool is going to help them go faster. So the more that the kick can contribute to that, the faster swimmers are going to be able to go. The second and less appreciated aspect of the kick is it moves the hips up. And so whenever swimmers breathe, whenever they pull, whenever they recover the arms, that's going to lower the hips in the water. And so something needs to happen to get those hips back up. What's that? It's going to be the kick. And the reason that's so important is that lower hips mean more resistance, which means less speed. Swimmers are going to go slower, and it's going to be a whole lot more difficult to swim butterfly well. So the kick not only moves them down the pool faster, it moves the hips up so that it can reduce the amount of resistance that they create, which in turn is going to make butterfly a lot faster and a lot easier. So a strong, effective kick serves two really important purposes. And when those purposes are achieved, it's going to be much easier for swimmers to go fast. So what's an effective butterfly kick? There's two aspects of it. First is that there's a whip-like kicking action, and the second is that there's two positions that swimmers have to execute a great kick from. So first of all, the whip-like kicking action. There's going to be a down kick that's directed down and back, which moves the hips up and forwards, and that's a part that creates a lot of the propulsion that helps swimmers move down the pool and keep the hips up. And during that kick, the hips are going to move, the knees are going to move, and then the ankles are going to move in order to create a lot of propulsion. In contrast, the up kick is very straight as opposed to bent, and that allows swimmers to set up the kick and then snap it back down. If the up kick is all bending from the knees, swimmers aren't going to be able to create that whipping action, and they're going to create a lot less propulsion, and it's going to have a much less positive effect on their position in the water when swimmers kick both down and back. The other important aspect of the kick is that the body position is very different during the two kicks. So one kick happens when the hands enter the water, and the body is going to be relatively flat when that kick happens. And the second kick happens as the hand exits, and the body is going to be angled in the water. So one kick happens when the body's flat, the other kick happens when the body is angled. So that's going to require a slightly different kicking action, and some kicking activities preferentially stress one position versus the other. And if we want swimmers to have the full skill set, we're going to have to train each aspect of the kick. So if we watch the kick here, this first kick, when the hands enter, the body's going to be relatively flat during the kick. And then during the second kick here, you can see the body's going to be at a much steeper angle. So those two kicks are somewhat different in terms of how they're executed because of the position of the body. So we want swimmers to be able to be skilled in both those kicks. Now, if we watch the movement of the legs, the recovery kick is going to be straight here and the knees bend there, but that's only because he's started the kick already. He's already bringing his knees forward to kick with. And so again, it's going to be a relatively straight up kick, and then the knees snap forward and then the feet snap forward to execute that kick. So again, a straighter up kick and then snapping through with the whole kick. It's that straighter aspect of the up kick which sets up the whipping action of the down kick. It's a little bit different on the other kick, but you can see the legs are being recovered straight and they start to bend there right when the knees start coming down to execute the kick. And so there's going to be a straight aspect of the recovery right there, and then the knees drive forwards, and then the feet drive forwards for the down kick. So two important aspects of the skill: the position of the body and where the kick happens, and then also the difference between the up kick and the down kick. The up kick is going to be straighter, and then the down kick is going to snap down in a wave. The hips move, then the knees move, and then the ankles move, and that's going to create that whipping action that creates a ton of propulsion, sending the hips up and forward down the pool. So what's the challenge? Well, when most swimmers think about working their kick, they just think about traditional kicking sets where they just work hard. So they don't necessarily appreciate that there's a skill to it as compared to when they're breathing or when they're using their arms or any of the other skills in swimming. Kicking is just as much of a skill, it's just a different skill. And even though most kicking is going to be relatively challenging, that doesn't mean it's just about effort, it's also about execution. The other challenge is that there are multiple components that need to be developed. We've got the difference between the down kick and the up kick, and we've got the difference in the body positions between when the head is up and when the head is down. So there's multiple aspects of the kick that need to be developed over time. And the fitness component of the kick is critical as well. And that creates a challenge because swimmers can't just do skill work, they can't just train because they have to develop the skills and they have to develop the fitness, and they have to develop them more or less at the same time. So we have to find strategies that allow swimmers to do that, allows them to work on their skills and develop their fitness all at the same time. So when it comes to solutions, the ones that are going to be effective are going to be the ones that overcome those challenges. They have to encourage swimmers to actually think about their skills as opposed to just working hard, putting their head down and getting the job done. And there has to be a specific focus on the skills that we've discussed in terms of the body position of the kick and the differences between the down kick and the up kick. And finally, we have to find solutions that allow for the development of both skill and fitness at more or less the same time, because both qualities are really important in order to have a great kick, and you can't necessarily separate the two. So if we use skill development strategies that don't develop fitness at all, it's not going to be very effective. And if we just try to develop their fitness and hope that the skills improve too, that's not going to work either. First up is vertical kicking, and one of the reasons the strategy is really effective is that it helps swimmers learn how to kick down and back relative to when they're on their stomach. Because they're going to be kicking back and forth during the vertical kicking, and they have to be kicking down in order to stay afloat, that means they're going to develop the ability to kick both down and back when they finally get back on their stomach, because they have to kick in both directions when vertical kicking or they're not going to stay afloat. They have to kick forwards and backwards. They have to kick down in order to stay up in the water. The other benefit of vertical kicking is that the legs tend to be worked relatively evenly, and so it tends to emphasize both the down kick and the up kick, and the up kick is something that swimmers tend to overlook, so we're going to get more balanced development of the kick. You can also have swimmers focus on keeping their legs relatively straight, which is going to preferentially stress the up kick, and that can be really useful if swimmers are struggling with this skill. And because vertical kicking is novel relative to kicking on a board or kicking on the stomach, it's easier to create change because swimmers don't have the same preconceived notions of what they're able to do. And lastly, vertical kicking is great because it's solid work, and so we're developing the fitness as they're learning these skills. And so vertical kicking is exactly what you think it is. They're just straight up in the water and they're kicking back and forth, trying to stay afloat. So the key aspect here is staying afloat, being consistent with the tempo, and you can ask them to change the size of their kicks. You can have them focus on the up kick. You can change how they're executing it, but the same concept applies. They're just trying to stay afloat, and they're using the legs to make that happen. The next strategy is to use positional dolphin kicking. So if you want to develop the first kick when the hands enter the water, you can have them wear a snorkel. You can have them do that with their hands on a board. You can have them do it with their hands down by their side. You can have them do it in streamline. In every case, they're going to be really level in the water, and that's going to help them develop the ability to kick in that position more effectively. If you want to develop the second kick when the hands are exiting the water, now you can have them kick on a board, but without the snorkel. So now their head's going to be up, their hips are going to be a little bit lower, and that's going to better create the position that they're going to be in when the hands exit the water and they execute the kick at that time. Another strategy to put even more pressure on that skill is you have them with their hands straight out in front without a board, and so they're surf kicking, and they're going to have to kick really hard, really effectively, and their hips are going to be pretty low there, so they're going to have to really work to keep the hips up. And so that's going to put even more pressure on that particular skill and that particular position. And so by using different types of dolphin kicking in our training, we can challenge different aspects of the skill. And since we want well-rounded butterfly kickers, because that means they're going to be better butterfly swimmers, we want to use different kicking positions throughout their development in order to help them develop all those skills. And if you want to put more pressure on the up kick, you can just have them kick on their back. That will tend to stress the muscles on the back of the legs more so than kicking on the stomach. And so while it's less specific to butterfly itself, it's really effective for developing the up kick, and that means a better kicking skill set as a whole. So different positions, we can change the stress on the legs, and we can change the stress on different skills. Next up is 4 kicks, 1 pull. So once swimmers have a solid kicking action, Once they've developed that, or as they're developing it, we need to help them learn how to kick more effectively when they're actually swimming. So 4 kicks, 1 pull is a great transition from regular kicking to full stroke butterfly because we've added some of the arms in, but they're still emphasizing the legs. So while this can be used effectively as a drill, my preference, especially when trying to develop the legs, is to really train it. And so you have them do it fast, challenge them in different ways, and they have to create speed with the legs in order to make that happen. They can't just use the arms because the arms are being used pretty infrequently. They got to create speed with the legs, and they also have to use good kick timing because if they don't, they just won't go fast. And so that's a great way to help swimmers learn how to use the legs more effectively within the actual stroke. So once they've developed the kick, as they're developing the kick, help them figure out how to use that better kick, use that more effective kick within the context of their actual butterfly swimming. Using 4 kicks, 1 pull is a great way to make that happen, all while still developing the fitness of the legs. So as you can see with this swimmer, he's going to exaggerate the legs, and he's got to have good timing. He's got to keep everything going. And so if he wants to go fast, if he's got time goals he's trying to hit, if he's trying to descend, he's trying to build, he's trying to negative split, whatever it is, he's going to have to make that happen with the kick. If he's not kicking effectively, if he's not kicking at the right time, he's not going to create speed. So once they have a solid kick, start getting them to use it while they're actually swimming and while they're using a drill like this to transition to regular swimming while overloading the legs. Now, if you ever want to help swimmers create more propulsion in any stroke, resistance is going to be a powerful tool. Specific to butterfly kicking, there's 3 ways to handle it. You can resist the body, you can use drag socks, or you can try to find alternatives. So resisting the body, that's using a parachute, that's using a cord, that's using a power tower, that's using a sponge. You're tying some type of resistance to the body and you're asking swimmers to move forwards. It's really effective for helping swimmers learn how to create pressure on the water. They can better feel how their feet are interacting with the water. They're going to feel if they're creating pressure, if they're slipping through at different points of the kick, and it's going to encourage them to create more propulsion with each kick, and it's going to encourage them to create more propulsion more effectively. If they've got to hit a certain time, they've got to create more propulsion and they've got to direct it backwards in order to move themselves forward. Drag socks are also really effective because they preferentially develop that whipping kick action. If swimmers just keep their legs completely straight, they're not going to go anywhere with drag socks. If they just bend the knees, they're not going to go anywhere with drag socks. So not only does it challenge them physically, it encourages them to use an effective kicking action, one that's pretty straight on the up kick and then whips back down, and that's going to develop the skill of kicking really well while at the same time developing the fitness of the legs. Now, you might not have access to parachutes or cords. You might not have access to drag socks. There's always options. You can use vertical kick, like we talked about earlier, but have their hands up above the water or even in streamline. The higher the hands are, the more difficult it's going to be, the more resistance there will be on the legs because more of the body is out of the water. You can go tombstone kick where they're using a kickboard and they're kicking against it. You can go wall kick, so they're just kicking into the wall. Those are all strategies that are going to help them learn to create more propulsion because they're going to feel more resistance on the feet. That's going to improve the skill. That's also going to improve the strength of the kick. So resistance is really powerful. It's a really effective strategy for helping swimmers improve their kicking. Next strategy is actually training the kick. So while the tools we've discussed so far are really useful, if you just do them at slow speeds and at controlled intensities, swimmers aren't going to learn a whole lot. You got to use the strategies and then really train the kick. Get swimmers to go fast. You want to build the capacity to repeat performances over and over and over again to extend their skills over longer periods of time, and you're trying to build speed at the same time. The more you can train all the strategies we talked about, and the more they can improve their performances in those sets, the better their kick is going to be. You can also use kick plus swim sets where they're kicking and swimming during the same set. You're going to train the kick and you're going to train the ability to kick while swimming, which is equally as important, and you're going to train the ability to use the legs when they're tired when they're swimming, which is what's going to happen in races. So you get swimmers to go fast in those sets, and again, you want to build capacity, build speed, so that they can continue to get better over time. So the big picture concept here is to use the tools and the strategies we've already talked about where swimmers pretty much have to kick well, and then ask them to go hard, ask them to go faster, ask them to go longer. And so if you can develop that ability, their skills are going to improve and their fitness is going to improve, and that means their kicking is going to improve. First set is relatively simple. We're going to go 3 rounds through. They're going to go 6 times, 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off, vertical kick. The odds, they're going to focus on really tight kicks. The evens, they're going to focus on really big kicks. They're going to try to feel what amplitude is going to be most effective for them. Then they're going to go 475. So they're going to go 25 dolphin kick on their back and streamline. That's going to work the up kick. And then we're going to go 25 4 kicks, 1 pull. So they're trying to feel how to integrate the legs into their swimming. And then a 25 butterfly. They're going to descend those 1 to 4 just to get a little bit faster, just to put a little bit pressure on those skills. So they're really setting things up on the vertical kicking, and then they're trying to make it happen during those 75s, trying to transition the skill of kicking into their butterfly swimming. Next set, a little bit more of an endurance feel. So they'll start off with 2 50s, dolphin kick with a parachute. Number 1's with a board. Number 2 is with board and a snorkel. They're solid effort. And the goal there is just to help swimmers feel the added resistance, feel the added pressure on their feet, and they're going to be challenged by the position that they're in. They're going to work both positions, one with the head up and one with the head down. Then they're going to go 4 100s, 25 streamline dolphin kick on the back. Again, working on the up kick here, and then a 25 4 kicks, 1 pull. They're going to try to make everything happen. They're going to try to flow into that skill and try to get the kick working within the arms. They're going to descend those 1 to 4, try to get a little bit faster each time. Then they're going to go 50 butterfly strong, same stroke count each 25. Hopefully they got a really strong, powerful kick driving that stroke forward. We're going to repeat that 3 more times. The only difference is those 100s, we're going to go 3 and then 2 and then 1, and they're still going to descend, but they're going to descend down to faster. And on the 50s, we're going to flip-flop the kickboard and snorkel with the kickboard, and so it's going to be reversed on every other round so that they can get the challenge of kicking in different positions, but doing so in a different order. Each round, they're trying to get better on those 100s, as I said, and that 50 butterfly strong. They're trying to keep the stroke count the same, but they're still trying to get faster as they go. Last set is more of a speed set, so we're going to use drag socks the whole way through, and what we're trying to accomplish there is we're trying to really encourage that extra whipping action through the kick, and we're obviously going to challenge it from a strength perspective. So they're going to go 25 streamline dolphin kick on the back fast with drag socks, then they're going to go 25 4 kicks, 1 pull with drag socks, and then they're going to go 25 butterfly with drag socks. So they're going to repeat that 2 more times, but we're going to change the kicking position. The next one's going to be flat on the water, board, snorkel, dolphin kick, and then the one after that, it's going to be head up, so dolphin kick with a board and drag socks. Then on the last 25, the 10th 25, they're going to take the gear off and they're just going to let it rip. So we're asking them to create speed when they're kicking. We're asking them to create speed when they're going 4 kicks, 1 pull. We're asking them to create speed when they're swimming butterfly. And so we're going from kick to drill to swim. We're getting more and more upper body as we go, and we're helping them learn to integrate the arms, and we're helping them learn to integrate the legs and the arms as they go. The drag socks create an extra added challenge, and then swimmers get the chance to put it all together without the drag socks at the end. If you want to learn more about how to develop kick timing in butterfly, check out the video below.